Night from New York. It's a show that has a lot of surprises.
Not to me. I know how the show works.
I just showed up
shocked.
90
You're
seconds
shocked.
ago,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, this
Wilds is moonlighting as a stock market analyst.
He says this is a stock.
No, I looked at.
Usually you're more like rugged.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that's-
He's out here.
Bean, whatever it is.
JJ
JL Bean, what is it?
JJ
LL Bean?
LL Oh,
JJ Fat. You can buy JJ Fat.
LL
and
Bean.
JL
What he meant.
LL Bean.
and J. Crew.
J. Crew.
There you go.
J. Crew.
I got you, bro.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Here's Lamar this season. Weeks 1 and 2, a little bit of a slow start. This is what he's been doing. He did it last year too. A little slow start, and then ramps up. Points per game now up to 35. He's completing 71% of his passes. Total yards per game 300. That's a little bit of a drop. 15 touchdowns, 4 turnovers only, and passer rating is now at 137, Brew. And obviously, this game was in Tampa Bay.
Wow.
Can anyone beat this version of the Ravens?
Well, before I answer your question,
Yeah.
Wilds,
Yeah.
let me tell you guys what happened last night.
Please. Good.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, thinking they're all that because they were 4-2, they beat everybody's darling, the Detroit Lions.
That's true.
And Baker Mayfield was rightly a top Brews MVP ballot. They were feeling good, so they invited the Baltimore Ravens over for a game of tackle football.
What happened?
And Baltimore wanted to be polite. They didn't want to be rude. Initially, they go
they
there,
let
they're being nice. And then the Buccaneers start feeling themselves.
Yeah.
Start talking trash, getting rough with them. And so they had to put the smack down. All right? And that's when they threw their legs up on the table to showcase their purple and black Ravens Jordans.
We see.
That's when they said, go, Baker and the rest of you guys, and fetch me a robe. And of course, that's right. They had to say it. Yep. Get me a sandwich. Some chips
to this.
and a soda pop.
That's an executive around
That's
here.
a
bringing you
huge
stuff.
type of chips. And that's what happened last night. And because the Ravens owned their house and they had 6 straight scoring touchdowns or 6 straight scoring
drives,
possessions
yeah.
and 41 points to prove it.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, what was your question?
Can anyone beat them? And so, do you want to answer that? Or do you want me
can
to
go ahead first.
All right. So I won't mention the obvious one, the team that always beats them, that beat them in last year and beat them to begin this year, because that's people. We've had enough Chiefs-Ravens arguments for a while. We don't have to do it right now. But absolutely, a lot of teams can beat them. I'd take Detroit over them right now. I understand the transitive property of Tampa beat Detroit, but I'm not worried. It is not about Lamar, but we will get to Lamar, who was brilliant again. It's about the fact that when this is your defense, a lot of teams can beat you. Will they? I don't know. We can show you their defensive numbers, I think. But if we can't show it to you, they're bottom. There we go. Last year, awesome at everything. This year, kind of the opposite. And so, anyone that has a competent offense, and the Bucs, by the way, had a very good offense that then lost Mike Evans, and at the very end of the game lost Chris Godwin, you're going to be susceptible for a loss. So I think we're a little, it's been 15 hours, not too long, but in the afterglow of a brilliant Lamar performance and an offense, and Derrick Henry, who was like, why aren't they giving Derrick Henry the ball? And then bam, 80 yards down the sideline. The offense looks unbelievable. Yes. But I think right now the team as a whole, questions like this slightly overvalue it because defensively they have more issues than any Ravens team since Lamar's been there. True. So, I just think that's fair. And maybe it speaks to, and I know we're going to get to it, his MVP case later, because they have to score a ton of points. But I don't think this Ravens team is, forget the Chiefs, just a clear best other than the Chiefs team in the NFL right now. I don't feel that way.
I think they can be beaten by themselves. Now, I think, Nick, and you know this, I think they were the best team last year. They played best throughout the season, blew out a lot of elite teams.
A ton.
And then, no discredit to the Chiefs. They did what they had to do. But the Ravens, we all know, had an identity crisis in the middle of that, not even the middle of that game, the beginning of the game, and penalties and the like. And that's my concern about them now. What you said is true. The defense, Tampa Bay was gashing them early on. And then Mike Evans, as you said, got hurt. They got the interception, which turned everything.
Yes.
Then they got the second interception, and then it was off to the races. But what shocked me was the run game, because they've been good against the run this year, but Tampa Bay was actually running on them. So, but here's my thing, and you guys know they have a culture of defense. Hadn't shown up yet for the sixth. Now, the last 2 weeks, they were pretty good defensively, but not last night. But I do believe that they still have some very good defensive players, Roquan Smith and all those guys. And I do believe they'll get it together. Not like they did last year, but they'll be much better than this, because they got to be better. But also, Nick, 9 penalties for 85 yards last night. They're the second or third most penalized team in the league right now.
Yeah.
That's a self-inflicted wound.
But that can go away.
That's kind of been
tighten that
well.
up.
They have. I'm with you in that. That's kind of been something. They've been. If they want to beat the Chiefs, they got to tighten it up. And then special teams.
Tucker finally is hitting big kicks.
Tucker's looking good, but there have been 2 onside kicks that were recovered in the entire league this year. Both of them were against the Ravens, Dallas and last night. Yeah. So those are things you can fix yourself, but they just got to tighten it up. And I like John Harbaugh, but I think he's got to tighten it up a little bit, because
you don't like the end of the games either.
Well, the end of the games, that's just.
I know, but they
I almost didn't bring
get
out the robe because of that last night.
No, you should always have the robe ready. They get up. It's a good problem to have. They get onside kicks because, hey, we're up so much. We're onside kicks. We lose fourth quarter leagues. We're up big. So
but the problem is, you got one team. I know they got to get there, but you got one team in believe me, Lamar's got one team in his sights. And to beat them, you don't have room for error. And that's where those self-inflicted errors come.
Also, before I move on to the Lamar MVP thing, can I just I have to be fair. I call the Bills the September champs. Mm-hmm. The Ravens being, and there's no banner coming, the Ravens being the team of October and Lamar being the MVP in October.
He loves it.
We can just go through the headlines since he first became a starter. 2019, Lamar Jackson on the verge of usurping Russell. Oh, my goodness, Russell Wilson MVP conversation. Those were the days. That's also not how you spell Aaron Rodgers' name, but that's fine.
CBS.
CBS, terrible job by you.
Really?
All right, 2020.
A lot of vowels.
Jackson shows MVP for him. Helped Washington to beat Washington 31-17. What about October of 2021? How was that one? This is the best Lamar Jackson we've ever seen.
Bill Barnwell
from
said
my friend Ben Solak at The Ringer. Well, you're going to see Ben a few other times here. October of 2022, what was the Lamar Jackson MVP candidate leads clutch drives, Ravens beat Bengals. October of 2023, was it more Lamar Flowers? The hot read, Lamar Jackson for MVP. And October of 2024, yesterday, Lamar Jackson is MVP. Sorry, Brock Purdy's flaw. I don't know why they included that. That was just that.
You know that's the only reason you put that.
So, I know who in October typically looks like the league's best team and who looks like the league's best quarterback. Very often it's Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And I don't know how much that's worth, but it does, and it almost sounds like I'm taking a shot. I'm not. It does show that different iterations, different coordinators, different personnel, they are, by around the time we get to the midway point of the season, always look awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A couple years Lamar got hurt, and we know the playoff stuff is the playoff stuff. Yeah. But every year around this time, it's like, you know who might be the best team? Baltimore. You know who might be the MVP? Lamar. And so it's not, that part's not new.
All right, with last night's performance, Lamar has now jumped to the front of the line for MVP, followed by Mahomes, Allen, Goff, CJ, and, of course, J-Lo. Presiding wisdom is that the postseason foibles of Lamar would hurt his candidacy, but he does look like the MVP, Brew. So are you okay with Lamar getting another MVP this year? I
am. If he wins it, I will be fine with it, assuming, of course, he keeps playing like this. And I'll admit, when the season started, Nick, if the MVP race is a 100-yard dash, and everyone else, other than Lamar, every other player in the league started with a 25-yard head start because of his struggles in the playoffs for the most part, and he's already got 2 MVPs, including last year. So voter fatigue is real. A lot of times when guys, excellent, all-time great players, have comparable years, they've kind of divvy it out. Oh, he hasn't gotten one yet. So stuff like that put Lamar at a disadvantage to start the season. But, Nick, if you're that good, like, I don't think precedent's important, but his precedent isn't written in stone. We do have to just watch the games and let it play out. And if he's going to play this well and be far out ahead of everybody. Now, right now, Jared Goff, there's an argument that he's right there.
Correct.
But if he pulls away, Lamar pulls away, he's obviously more spectacular, and he clearly deserves it, then I'm fine with it. It'll be a first. I think the first time a guy's won 3 MVPs without a Super Bowl. But if he deserves it, I'm good with it.
So listen, the 2-time MVPs, guys that didn't get to 3, 2-time MVPs who won their second before winning a Super Bowl. Lamar, Steve Young, that was the list of the guys who ended it too. Mm-hmm. Here's the full, so he joined Steve Young on that last year. The other 2-time MVPs, Patrick, Kurt, and Joe Montana, all obviously won a Super Bowl before. I'm talking about before you get your second MVP. Right. The 3-time MVPs, here's what it looks like. Now, Brett Favre and Jim Brown and Peyton won their second like Lamar did before they got their third before they got a Super Bowl. No one has ever won a third league MVP before they were a champion. No one ever. Yeah. And so that's the precedent Brew is talking about. With that said, because at Wilds, what do they call me?
Mr. Consistency.
And I try to be consistent, but sometimes I feel differently across sports. So I feel like the NBA MVP has more of a historical resonance than the NFL MVP because there isn't a Sean Alexander, Rich Gannon, the kicker who I wanted in Mark Mosley. That doesn't. The NBA MVP to me is as prestigious of an individual honor as there is in all of sports, aside from maybe the Heisman Trophy. The NFL MVP I think is awesome, but not quite that caliber. So I'd be fine with it. If Lamar, if Lamar's awesome, my whole question about Lamar has to do with a part of the season that the MVP is not for. It's just historic.
It is a regular season.
It is truly a regular season award. There isn't, and again, I know it feels like it's conflicting with some of my basketball takes. I can just be honest with you. I look at the awards differently. I look at the precedent differently. I look at the importance differently, and I also. You guys know I didn't like the Mahomes, Allen, Brady, Manning stuff because I'm like, no, Patrick's both. He's the winning of Brady and the MVPs of Manning. I would find it kind of charming and cool if in this latter phase or the mid phase of each of these guys' career, we do get a Brady Manning situation where Patrick is a real rivalry where Patrick is like the winner guy. And you know what I mean? The stats are some, and the other guy is racking up all these numbers and all these stats, but can he beat him? Because right now, you mentioned the different rivals. Mahomes is yet to have an actual rival. So if Lamar wins back-to-back MVPs while Patrick has won back-to-back Super Bowls, that is a very unique situation. And Lamar's been awesome. And we'll get to it later in the show, I have massive questions about the Ravens and huge concerns, and I don't understand why everyone shared my concerns in January, and now they're all gone. I don't get that piece of it, but what he's doing right now is spectacular.
This reminds me, and you brought up the NBA, of Joel Embiid last year. So he won that MVP 2 years ago. A lot of people thought it should have went to Jokic. Embiid fizzles out in the playoffs, so people think there's no way he's getting this MVP. I felt that way. He's not getting the MVP this year. He was so good, though. He was averaging 35 points, 11 boards, almost 6 assists, shooting 39% from 3. Before he got hurt, and that's why he didn't have a chance to win it, I was like, he's the MVP right now. It's just undeniable, and that's where Lamar's at. He's playing so well. It just wouldn't be fair at this point.
Hold on, to be clear, and I don't think you're saying this either. I think right now there is a very
Right
good
now,
case
it's a race.
for goal.
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
a real race,
Yeah,
but
agree.
I don't think he's disqualified from winning it.
Okay.
It's interesting. He wins it. Never mind. We can have it later. Wins it. The playoffs go poorly again. Is he disqualified? Can he win 3? It's so they're going to be a very interesting.
He's playing the best of his. He's playing better than his first MVP.
100%.
And that was a great.
No, he's playing great.
Phenomenal.
There's
Throwing it
no
well,
questions
everything.
about it. He is playing great, and all the leadership stuff that I sling at Rodgers because he's not. Lamar is.
Absolutely.
Like, no questions.
I'm
Listen,
sure he'll be on top of
blocks,
Mahomes Mountain.
too.
then.
no, listen. Until
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's
to me.
another quarterback you'd rather have until January. I don't. I just don't.
Any issues?
None at all. And two things. First one is, man, pro football can be a cruel game. Take the injury part out of it. Just from the way a whole, forget game, season can turn. That Tampa's up 7-0, scores, stop Baltimore, scores again.
Yep.
It says 13-0 on the little score bug, and there's a holding call. Questionable, one of those, you can call it, you cannot call it. Touchdown off the board. Next play, pass to Evans. Touchdown. He pulls his hamstring and drops it. And from that moment forward, you feel like that holding call, like this, their season turned on a Tyndall. Like, Evans now done for however long, and then it leads to all the different turn of events that lead to Chris Godwin having his ankle dislocated. So I just feel sick for Tampa. On the Godwin thing, if you're down 11 or less, you're still in the game if there's more than 20 seconds left. Like, they've shown they can get an onside kick. They were moving the ball.
Yep.
If they were down 17, then I'd say this is so silly. You literally have no chance. But when you're down a field goal and a touchdown, you always have a chance if there's more than 10 seconds left. Especially with how good kickers are, everything.
Yeah.
So I was shocked he was criticized for this. To me, the criticism was as if it was 41-21.
Right.
It was 41-31. You're alive, so you have to go for it. So I thought that was unfair to Bolt.
I totally agree with you. I mean, they grilled him. If you watch the whole thing, like, do you have to protect players from themselves when somebody asked him? I'm with Nick. They were alive. I mean, obviously, the Ravens let them back in, but at that point, you're alive. You score a touchdown, you get the onside kick, field goal. Now you go into overtime, or you got a chance even to win it.
Yeah.
And so what I'll say, though, is for the reporters who were criticizing Bowles, are you criticized? Why didn't you ask about Baker? All the other starters were in the game, too. It's kind of what you talk about when you go for it on fourth down.
You play the result.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, they're asking about Godwin because he got hurt. Every other starter was on the field, too. And none of them got hurt. It's football, man. You could get hurt on any place, unfortunately. And so I got no problem with it.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.